Well, I guess this is it. Going to do one more night, spend one more night on the summer of 1967. It's been when been going on my 60s YouTube channel. I've been going back to the summer of 1967, I guess for the last couple of months. But now it's getting into late September. I guess it's time to move on reluctantly, covering those lost 45s. A lot of these songs that slipped through the cracks. Some of these songs light rotation, some of them medium rotation on some of the radio stations, and maybe a few in hot rotations scattered around the country. But let's go to Billboard's Hot 100 of September, I believe. Let me find the tab. September 23rd, 1967. Top 5 hits from that week. I'm sure you remember them. Never My Love by Deejay. Oh my goodness. From 15 to number 5. Never My Love by the Associations. Produced by Bones Howe. Well, you know those guys were on a roll back in the day. Reflections by Diana Ross and Supremes at number 4. Come Back When You Grow Up by Bobby Fee and the Strangers at number 3. Ode to Billy Joel, that was number 1. That's down to number 2 that week. And The Letter by the Box Tops at number 1. Billboard's Hot 100 September 23rd, 1967. And let's go all the way down to the bottom reaches, the obscure reaches, somewhat obscure reaches of Billboard's Hot 100, if I could find it. Here we go. Tell Him by Patti Drew at number 87 on Billboard's Hot 100. This was a re-release of a song that she and her sisters had put out in 1964, but I'll get into that in just a minute. Born in Nashville, Patti Drew, she grew up, no, I take that back, she was born in Charleston. She grew up in Nashville, and then she grew up in Evanston, Illinois. That's where Patti Drew and her two sisters sang in church choir together, but boy, you talk about a stroke of luck. It just so happened that Patti Drew's mother worked for a promoter at Capitol Records. He popped in, he watched Patti Drew and her sister sing together, he liked it. He liked what he heard. Signed your name on the dotted line, got themselves a contract. They called themselves the Druvels. And they put out a single in 1964 called Tell Him, not to be confused with Tell Him by the Exciters. This Tell Him was written by a guy named Carlton Black. You can hear him singing the bass line, that boom, 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 that boom, boom, do part in that record, Tell Him. Released in he wrote the song in 1963. It came out in 1964 by the Druvels, but it peaked at number 90. They put out a couple other singles to Drew Vales, and they broke up. Patti Drew went solo. She signed a deal with Quill Records, and somehow moved up to Capitol Records. Kind of an ambiguous scheme, history right there. But bottom line is, she re-recorded or reissued "Tell Him" in 1967, and still no cigar. On Billboard's Hot 100, it peaked at number 85. Just barely did better than the previous version in 1964. It was on Billboard's Hot 100 though for 2 months. I mean, that's not bad considering the song peaked at number 85. And it's a nice R&B record. It's a very melodic R&B record. Should have done a little bit better. I mean, there are some songs that peaked at number 80 and 85 that are a little too weak to make it to top 40, but this song is not one of them. Later on, she covered Otis Redding's "Hard to Handle," very minor hit on Billboard's Hot 100. But she's Patti. Well, a lot of people don't remember this, but Patti Drew is best known for her version of "Working on a Groovy Thing." She put out her version in 1968, and it was written by Neil Sedaka, co-written by Neil Sedaka. It peaked at number 62. Patti Drew's version of "Working on a Groovy Thing." Man, what a great record. It was covered by the Fifth Dimension a year later, produced by Bones Howe. The Fifth Dimension version, their version was big. 1969, Fifth Dimension. Well, here we are with Patti Drew with "Tell Him." It's coming in at number 87 on Billboard's Hot 100 of September 23rd, 1967.